Hey guys, tonight we slip quietly through a Roman street just after sunset, when the stone is still warm and the air smells faintly of smoke, oil, and damp marble. You push open a heavy wooden door and immediately steam breathes back at you, like the building itself is alive and exhaling after a long day. Somewhere inside, water murmurs, sandals scuff, and a laugh echoes a little longer than it should. This is not a spa day. This is a night shift in a Roman public bathhouse, and you're clocking in whether you plan to or not. You probably won't survive this, at least not with your modern expectations intact. There's no fluffy towel waiting, no privacy, and absolutely no guarantee your shoes will still be where you left them. But there is warmth seeping into your bones, lamplight trembling on tiled walls, and a strange comfort in the routine of it all. The Romans believed clean bodies made calm minds, and tonight you're about to test that theory one slow, steamy room at a time. As you move deeper inside, you notice how sounds soften, voices drop, footsteps slow, and even time itself seems to loosen its grip. This place runs on rituals older than memory. Oil poured, skin scraped, gossip traded like loose change. Historians still argue whether people came here more for hygiene or for community. But standing here now, you can feel it's both, and maybe neither. Mostly, it's about being here. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're awake enough, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is right now. Night, morning, somewhere in between? I love knowing how far these stories travel. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step fully inside as the door thuds shut behind you, and the outside world, vendors shouting, carts rattling, dogs arguing with shadows, fades into a thick, echoing hush. It's early night now, the busiest hour easing into something slower, and the bathhouse feels like a living thing winding down after a long day. Oil lamps flicker along the walls, their flames wobbling as warm air circulates through hidden passages beneath your feet. You can already feel it, the heat rising gently upward like a low, patient tide. You're standing in the apoditarium, the changing room, and it's less orderly than you might expect. Benches line the walls, niches hold folded tunics, and the floor is scattered with sandals pointing in every possible direction. A few bathers linger, chatting lazily as they unbelt, unpin, and shed layers. No one seems rushed. Time works differently here. One of the most mainstream facts about Roman life slips quietly into place. You realize that public bathhouses weren't a luxury for the elite. They were everywhere, funded by the state or wealthy patrons and open to nearly everyone for a small fee. This was the Romans' version of an evening routine. You hand over a coin without much thought, and the attendant barely looks up. Historians still argue whether fees were symbolic or genuinely enforced, but tonight the system hums along smoothly. You set your sandals down, glancing once, twice, just to memorize their position. That's not paranoia, it's experience. Shoe theft is common enough to inspire jokes, curses, and even the occasional wall inscription. Somewhere nearby, a man complains loudly that his left sandal has wandered off, as if it simply grew bored and left. The smell here is a mix of olive oil, damp stone, and human warmth. It's not unpleasant, just very present. A quirky tidbit drifts through your mind. Some Romans believed bathhouse air itself had medicinal properties, that breathing in steam mixed with herbs and oils could soothe lungs and spirits alike. Others thought it was nonsense. Standing here now, lungs filling with warm air, you decide it's at least comforting nonsense. As you move forward, you notice how sound behaves strangely. Conversations overlap, but none dominate. Laughter rolls and dissolves. Somewhere deeper inside, water splashes rhythmically, almost hypnotic. You catch fragments of gossip. Who's been promoted, who's been spotted with whose doctor recommends more cold plunges and fewer pastries. Yes, doctors actually prescribed bathing routines, and yes, patients often ignored half of it. Some things never change. You pass a painted wall panel showing mythic scenes, colors softened by years of steam. The figures look relaxed, improbably so, as if even the gods needed a good soak after a long day. A light joke slips in as you imagine Mars, god of war, complaining about the water temperature being a bit tepid. That's one. The floor grows warmer underfoot as you approach the inner rooms. This heat isn't accidental, it's engineering. Beneath you runs the hypocaust system, an underfloor heating network fueled by furnaces worked tirelessly by enslaved laborers. You don't see them yet, but you feel their work in every warm stone and gentle draft. Historians still argue whether bathgoers fully understood, or preferred not to think about, the labor making this comfort possible. You pause at the threshold, skin tingling, mind slowing. The outside night has vanished completely now. Ahead is warmth, routine, and hours measured not by clocks, but how relaxed your shoulders feel. You take a breath, step forward, and let the bathhouse claim you for the night.
You drift back toward the benches, realizing there's a rhythm to this place you're only beginning to learn. Nothing is rushed, but nothing is truly idle either. A young attendant gestures casually toward a shelf of small clay bottles. Oil, not soap. That's your cleanser for the night. Romans don't lather, they anoint, then scrape. It sounds odd, but it works well enough that the idea survives for centuries. A mainstream fact settles in. Soap exists in the Roman world, but bathing culture prefers oil and a curved metal tool called a strigil. You'll meet that soon. Coins clink softly as people pay for extras, better oil, a quick massage, a towel that's slightly less damp than the others. The prices are low, intentionally so. Emperors and magistrates keep bath fees cheap to maintain public favor. Historians still argue whether this was generosity or politics in warm water, but either way, it keeps the rooms full and the mood agreeable. You coat your skin lightly with oil, the scent grassy and faintly peppery. It catches the lamplight, giving everyone a subtle sheen, like living statues that forgot to stay still. A man nearby debates oil quality with surprising passion, insisting the good stuff comes from Baetica in Spain. Someone else claims Sicily. No one wins. That's joke 2. Romans arguing about olive oil like modern people argue about coffee beans. You glance again at your sandals. They're still there, for now. Theft here is less crime and more sport of opportunity. A quirky tidbit floats up. Some bathers hired attendants solely to guard their clothes. Others carved curses into the walls aimed at whoever took their footwear. Creative, petty, and oddly poetic. Archaeologists have found these curse tablets, and yes, they are exactly as dramatic as you're imagining. The locker area hums with low conversation. You overhear a father instructing his son on proper bath etiquette. Don't splash, don't stare, don't brag about cold plunges until you've actually done one. Nearby, 2 men discuss tomorrow's weather as if they're personally responsible for it. The bathhouse is where news travels slowly, softened by steam and repetition. Facts arrive here less sharp, more digestible. You notice how bodies move comfortably close. Personal space, as you know it, doesn't exist. This isn't intimacy, it's practicality. Warmth is shared. Benches are communal. Privacy is a luxury for villas, not for public life. Historians still argue whether this closeness fostered social equality or simply reflected it, but standing shoulder to shoulder, it feels normal, comforting even. An attendant passes with a basket of strigils, metal glinting softly. You take one, testing its weight. It's simple, efficient, and faintly intimidating. Someone jokes that it removes sins along with oil. That's joke 3, and judging by the nods, it's not new. Before moving on, you make a mental note of landmarks, the chipped tile, the lamp with the cracked rim, classic shoe theft prevention. You're learning fast. The heat beckons now, pulling you toward the warmer rooms where muscles loosen and voices drop another register. With oiled skin and guarded sandals, you step away from the benches, ready for the slow melt ahead.
You ease into the tepidarium, and the change is immediate but gentle, like slipping under a warm blanket rather than into a hot bath. This room is all about transition. The air wraps around you, neither cool nor oppressive, just steady enough to convince your shoulders to drop a little. The walls glow with reflected lamplight, and condensation beads lazily along painted plaster, tracing slow paths downward, as if even the moisture has learned to take its time. This room exists for a reason, and it's a very Roman one. A mainstream fact quietly settles in. The tepidarium prepares the body for hotter rooms, preventing shock and strain. Roman engineers designed bathhouses as carefully as temples, with temperature gradients planned down to the step. You don't rush heat here, you negotiate with it. People linger, that's the point. You sit on a warm stone bench, oil still slick on your skin, and feel the heat seep inward rather than attack. Conversation drifts in and out, unanchored. Someone talks about a sore knee that predicts rain better than priests. Another insists his doctor recommends longer tepidarium sessions for digestion, which earns a skeptical snort. Historians still argue whether Roman medical advice in baths was evidence-based or ritual comfort, but no one seems eager to test alternatives. A quirky tidbit floats by as you notice herbs tucked into small wall niches: rosemary, bay, maybe thyme. Some bathhouses scent rooms intentionally, believing aromas balance humors and moods. Others just enjoy the smell. You breathe in and decide both explanations can coexist peacefully, at least for tonight. The soundscape here is softer, voices lower instinctively, as if the heat presses down on volume itself. Water murmurs somewhere beyond the walls, steady and reassuring. You catch a faint rhythmic thump beneath your feet, the furnaces at work again, distant but relentless. Remember them. They're the reason this room feels like comfort instead of chaos. You watch people move slowly, deliberately. A man stretches his arms overhead, joints popping quietly. Someone else closes their eyes mid-sentence and forgets to finish the thought. No one minds. This is a socially acceptable place to drift. That might be the bathhouse's greatest invention. You test the strigil against your forearm, lightly scraping a thin line of oil away. It works surprisingly well, lifting a thin ribbon of oil and grime that curls like parchment, satisfying in a deeply strange way. A nearby bather nods approvingly, as if you've passed a small unspoken exam. That's joke one. Apparently, you're now certified in Roman self-scraping. Painted panels depict pastoral scenes, shepherds, trees, rivers, imagined calm layered atop real warmth. Some scholars think these images were meant to psychologically cool bathers, balancing the heat with visual tranquility. Historians still argue whether that was intentional or just good decoration, but your breathing slows anyway. Time stretches. You're not sure how long you've been here, and you stop caring. Outside, night deepens, but inside, this room holds its own eternal dusk. A light cough echoes, then fades. Someone laughs softly at a joke you didn't hear, and that's fine. The tepidarium isn't about participation, it's about presence. Eventually, you feel it, the subtle signal that you're ready for more heat. Not urgency, just invitation. You stand slowly, skin warm, mind quieter than you entered. The hotter rooms wait ahead, but for now, you savor this in-between space, this Roman understanding that comfort is a process, not a switch. As you move deeper, the warmth thickens.
No longer a background comfort, but a presence that asks to be acknowledged. The doorway ahead breathes out heat, and when you step through, it feels like entering the lungs of the building itself. This is where the bathhouse does its hardest work, even if most of that work remains politely out of sight. You don't see the furnaces, but you feel them everywhere. Beneath the floors and inside the walls, fires roar steadily, fed by endless armfuls of wood. A mainstream historical fact settles in here. Roman bathhouses rely on the hypocaust system, an engineering marvel that channels hot air under raised floors and through hollow walls. It's efficient, ingenious, and completely dependent on constant labor. The warmth caressing your calves right now is no accident, it's maintenance. A servant passes quickly, sweat darkening his tunic, eyes down, focused. You register him only briefly before he disappears through a side passage. Most bathers don't linger on these moments. Comfort has a way of encouraging selective awareness. Historians still argue whether regular visitors truly understood how many people worked unseen to keep the baths running, or whether the invisibility was the point. The air smells sharper here, wood smoke filtered through stone, mineral-rich steam, a faint metallic tang. You hear a deeper rumble now, like a distant animal breathing. That's the furnace room, tucked away like a secret organ. A quirky tidbit surfaces. Some bathhouses were so hot near the furnaces that workers wrapped cloth around their hands and feet to avoid burns, turning themselves into moving bundles of steam. Not exactly a career aspiration. You pause near a wall vent, feeling pulses of hot air exhale rhythmically. It's oddly soothing, like standing near a train engine that's decided to lull you instead of startle you. A bather nearby jokes that the building snores at night. That's joke one, and once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Despite the heat, people remain unhurried. This is another Roman specialty, endurance through acclimation. You adjust your breathing, slower now, deeper. Sweat beads, then runs, tracing familiar paths. No one looks embarrassed. Sweat here is expected, even admired. It means the system is working. You overhear a discussion about wood supplies, oak versus pine, hotter versus cleaner burns. Someone claims the best bathhouses always smell faintly of applewood. Someone else rolls their eyes. Even infrastructure inspires opinions. Historians still argue how standardized fuel choices were across the empire, but judging by this conversation, personal preference ruled the day. The heat presses thoughts into simpler shapes. Worries flatten, muscles soften. You become more aware of your body's edges, then less aware of them at all. This room isn't for lingering too long, but it's important. It teaches respect for limits, yours and the building's. As you turn away, ready to retreat toward water again, you spare one last thought for the unseen workers, feeding fires in the glow below. The bathhouse hums on their effort, steady and patient. You step onward, carrying that warmth with you, unaware of how deeply it has already settled in.
You arrive at the caldarium, and the heat greets you like an old acquaintance who insists on standing very close. This is the heart of the bathhouse experience, where steam curls thickly and the air feels almost visible. The pool shimmers, its surface trembling with tiny ripples as people ease themselves in and out. The room smells of oil, stone, and human warmth, layered so deeply it becomes oddly neutral, just heat. You lower yourself onto the edge, letting your feet test the water first. Hot, but not punishing. The Romans know their tolerances. A mainstream fact slips in here. The caldarium is intentionally paired with cold plunges later, believed to improve circulation and overall health. Doctors of the time recommend it with great confidence, though historians still argue whether these benefits were real or simply felt real, which honestly might be enough. You slide in slowly, shoulders last.
and the water wraps around you like a held breath finally released. Conversation here is subdued, partly from etiquette, partly because heat discourages long sentences. You catch snippets. Who's hosting dinner tomorrow? Which magistrate has been avoiding the baths lately, whether that's suspicious or just poor constitution? Gossip floats lazily, never sharp. Along the wall, a man uses his strigil with practiced ease, scraping oil and sweat away in long, calm strokes. You follow suit, and the sensation is unexpectedly soothing. This is exfoliation, Roman style. A quirky tidbit surfaces. Some people collect the scraped oil and dirt, gloious, believing it has medicinal or cosmetic value. Gladiator sweat is especially prized. You decide not to ask who's buying. That's joke one, and it lands quietly in your own head. An attendant offers fresh oil, drizzled, warm, and you accept. The warmth sinks deeper now, loosening thoughts as well as muscles. Someone nearby mentions a headache cured by regular caldarium visits. Another swears by it for sleep. Historians still argue how much of Roman medicine relied on placebo, routine, and communal belief, but you feel calmer regardless, and that feels like evidence enough. Eventually, the heat signals you've had enough. No alarm, just intuition. You rise slowly, joints loose, skin tingling. Some bathers head for the frigidarium, chasing the shock of cold water and bragging rights. You consider it, then decide against heroics. The night shift is about endurance, not performance. You settle instead on a warm bench, wrapped loosely in a towel, oil glistening softly in lamplight. The bathhouse begins to quiet. Bells chime faintly, closing time approaching. Attendants sweep water toward drains, steam thinning as doors open and close. Outside, night has deepened fully, but inside, the warmth lingers like a memory. People speak more softly now. Goodbyes are unceremonious, promised again tomorrow. The bathhouse exhales, cooling gradually. You feel heavy in the best way, thoughts slowed to a gentle drift. When you finally stand to leave, sandals miraculously still waiting, you slip them on without ceremony. As you step back toward the exit, the heat follows you for a moment, then releases you gently into the cooler air beyond. And now, as we let this final warmth fade, the pacing slows even further. Your breathing steadies, muscles soften one last time. Imagine the lamps dimming behind you, steam dissolving into shadow, stone floors cooling as the furnaces rest. The bathhouse sleeps, and so can you. Let the quiet stretch, let the day loosen its grip, and drift comfortably into rest.